Welcome to Politics Season 2, Episode 3. So, number 6 in the grand series, to use the American format. Good holding up of six digits there. This week we've got a quiz, which is nice, and also we should really do a countdown to the election, but it's what, May the 7th?
7th. It's a week today.
Yeah, it's a week today. So yeah, it's just a 7-day countdown. We're not going to do any sort of advent thing where we do one every day. That would be a bit keen, but hopefully we'll be doing something on the actual election night. Anyway, this should be a good episode because something I wanted to do for the previous episode and didn't is I had a look at some of the manifestos. So I should point out I forgot to go through the Green Party manifesto. So this episode might actually be unintentionally quite biased, but we've got UKIP, Conservatives, Labour, and Lib Dems. So, I like to sort of pretend that we've done that because they're the 4 biggest polling parties. But we haven't. I just forgot to go through the Greens, and I couldn't be bothered going through like Sinn Féin and DUP and all that. However, something I would like to point out, something that I realised the other day. Being a Sinn Féin MP is the greatest job ever because you can claim expenses, you get paid like 60 grand a year, and you get elected on the promise of not doing anything. So not only do you not have to do anything and get paid for it for 5 years because of fixed term parliament, that is your election promise. I assume Sinn Féin are the only people who've ever actually kept all of their election promises, because promises I won't go to parliament. And they do that resoundingly well. So
I'll tell you what, it would have been easy for you to have read the Sinn Féin manifesto because it's just a page of just we will do absolutely nothing towards the next parliament if we are elected.
Yeah, PS reunite Ireland. I think I might travel to Northern Ireland and set myself up as an Irish like nationalist / reunionist, so I can get elected as a Sinn Féin MP. And just have an absolute jolly. I think that's the best plan I've ever had.
And also you can get your expenses over to London paid, so you can actually move to Ireland, pay 6 grand a year, get paid 6 grand a year, buy a property in Ireland, and then get paid to come back to London.
Yeah, and then buy central London property and have them pay the mortgage on that. Like it's just brilliant. I mean, something I've always wondered, with the MP's expenses scandal, it turned out that people were getting Parliament to pay the mortgage on their second home. Why don't you just take out, say, 100% mortgage, or 95, whatever it is, and negotiate a 2-year mortgage with the bank? Just saying. See?
No, I like the idea, because then that's essentially, by the time anyone's found out you're siphoning 30 grand a month out of the expenses accounts, that you'll have already paid off the mortgage. So actually, and the value of your property would have gone up. So by the time
not necessarily, property can go up or down. That's like what you see on the bottom of those investment adverts, like investments can go up or down. But that's what I mean, because under normal circumstances, a mortgage is 20 or 25 years, and MPs have like been ripping off the public by getting 5 years mortgage payments for free. But if you just negotiate a 2-year mortgage, like, I should be at the top pulling the strings.
To find any wrongdoing. I think that's a genius move. Why wouldn't you do that?
We negotiate a 2-week mortgage. So by the time it's gone through the admin department...
It's just like, nah, you know what? Well, we've signed off on this expense, but for some reason, we want to reinvestigate it. So if you could just, bring us your mortgage payment receipts, and then we'll take a look at them. Yeah. Why are you spending 30 grand a month on your mortgage? Are you buying £1 million home? No, I just bought a flat and it was about 250 grand, and you're paying off the mortgage 250 grand in 102 weeks, 104 weeks.
Let's be honest, that's not a mortgage. That's a loan from Wonga. Anyway, on with the politics. Basically, I've managed to get 5 questions. And I've even got myself a pen to keep track of your score out of 5. Right, so this is between UKIP, Conservative, Labour and Lib Dem, but it's up out of 5 points. But there is a bonus point, so you can get up to 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Question number 1.
This is one of your quizzes, isn't it? I can get 6 out of 5. It's definitely one of your quizzes.
Well, no, it's not one of my quizzes because there's actually some factual information in here. Anyway,
Cool.
Question number 1. Who has, of the 4 parties, the shortest manifesto? As in least number of pages. I didn't do a word count, but least number of pages.
I'm going to go Lib Dem.
Why have you gone for Lib Dem? I mean, because the Conservatives are always cutting, so you think they'd be trying to cut the length of their manifesto?
No, I think no, because the Conservatives are always cutting. You're right, but they've got to explain why they're cutting. So I think just the pure explanations from the Conservative Party, the excuses. We're going to cut the defence budget by £150 million a week. It's like, why? Well, because of this 30-page essay that someone wrote 30 years ago explaining why the defence budget should be reduced. So I think Lib Dems, because they don't need to explain the stupid policies they're going to try and put through in the next election, I think it's going to be one of those things where, look, Lib Dems will probably more likely than the others hold the balance of power at the end of after the next election. So we're just going to put a load of policies out there, and people will vote for us anyway. So our manifesto is just going to be quite short and just say, well, you know, this is what we did last time. We're just going to, you know, we screwed up the country last time. We're just going to screw it up even more this time around. You guys get the idea.
Do you think that maybe the Conservative manifesto is much longer because it's got pages and pages of the word long-term economic plan?
Yeah, it's all it says is just long-term economic plan. In fact, our long-term economic plan is to formulate a long-term economic plan on the back of our previous long-term economic plan that was essentially a follow-on from our long-term economic plan that was a result of our long-term economic plan that we had in our last manifesto. That's all it says.
Just crank the font size up to like 64 or 100 or something, so it's just like L and then next page O and N.
They're just blank space.
You're wrong, basically. The shortest manifesto is UKIP at only 76 pages.
Wow. And you read all 76 of them?
No, I've read the first 10 of the 4, so that was still 40 pages worth of reading. Fortunately, some of it was pictures, but it still counted as reading. Basically, I made it to page 10 on each manifesto, so that's none so far. Question number 2. Oh no, I said it was out of 5. It's actually out of 4, so you can get 5 out of 4.
It's definitely one of your quizzes, isn't it?
No, this is the serious question. Which party of the 4 that are in this quiz do you think this statement comes from? In our fast-changing world, the fundamental question political parties face is, do we want to continue to be an open society, confident and optimistic about our place in the world, or do we want to become a closed one, increasingly insular and backwards-looking?
I think that sounds like Labour. That sounds like I think that's the kind of Labour, because I think they're specifically making a dig at UKIP's foreign policy, and also the Conservatives and how the Conservatives are banging on about the last Labour government. So I think that sounds like Labour.
You're going for Labour? Again, you're wrong. That was the Lib Dems.
Oh, no.
I can see why, though. It clearly wasn't a UKIP
no,
thing.
It definitely was not. That's got yeah. And I don't think it was Conservative either. I didn't think it was going to be that one either. No,
but also given that Labour have flat out ruled out a referendum on Europe, I can see why I went for that, but unfortunately wrong. Question number 3. Which manifesto has Thomas the Tank Engine in it?
Oh my God. You know, I really want to say UKIP, but I guess this is a trick question, and it's not UKIP. It's someone like... Hang on.
Remember, the Greens aren't in this quiz because I forgot to read their manifesto. So the fact that Thomas the Tank Engine uses coal, which although still producing CO2 is, you know, slightly longer term than oil, we can't go for the Greens.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to go with the Tories because I'm pretty sure Thomas the Tank Engine's blue.
You're going with the Tories? You are correct. Well done. Point number 1. I should point out, Thomas the Tank Engine is unfortunately upside down, and his face is a bit blurred, but you can clearly see that there's like a parent and child, and the child's got some brio, and you can clearly make out, I think, James and maybe Toby or Percy are somewhere, and there's a blue one upside down, so it's clearly Thomas the Tank Engine, because it's not long enough to be Edward, otherwise it'd be sticking out the other end of a little wooden build block thing, but it's sort of partially behind. So that's extremely important information if anyone's thinking about voting.
So hang on. So obviously, let's put it this way, okay? Thomas the Tank Engine wasn't in that because he's blue. It was clearly a collection of Thomas the Tank Engine pieces, like brio pieces, by the sound of things. So what was? So it was used as part of a family photo.
Yeah, a photo, and I forget what the text underneath is, but it's something like, you know, if you love your kids, vote Conservative, something along those. It's like, you know, it's not as blatant as that, I don't think. Not like marketing, like give us your money, but it's just like, you know, it's a happy-looking sort of parent-child situation, and if you want to be happy, I mean, you know, it's classic stuff like that. But I would put money on that being Thomas the Tank Engine. So anyway, 1 out of 3.
Yes.
Next statement from the normal quiz, number 4. Which manifesto specifically mentions A, building a northern powerhouse, and in that same paragraph, bringing back elected, now the phrase they use is metro mayors, so I assume they mean town, like city mayors, as opposed to town mayors who are sort of more ceremonial and sort of a mate stood for town crier, and sort of, you know, open the garden centre or something, like people not as probably quite as important as the London mayor economically, but things like, because I mean Manchester had an election where they were going to have a mayor and they voted no, but you know, big cities used to have mayors, so who wants to bring them back and build a northern powerhouse?
Now, northern powerhouse is a phrase I've heard in the selection already, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the big two. It was either Tory or Labour's.
I'm going to give you a clue on this one. It's definitely one of those two, so you've got a fiddy chance of getting this right.
I think that's something. Northern Powerhouse sounds like something David Cameron tosses off to at the evening. So I'm going to go with Tory.
You're going with the Tories. You are correct. Well done. So that's, I mean, both Conservative questions you've got right now. And now for the bonus points. At the moment you're on 2 out of 4. This could bring up to 3 out of 4. UKIP had the shortest manifesto. Who do you think has the longest? I don't know why I didn't make this just a 5-question quiz, but I didn't.
No, it's just a bonus round.
Bonus round.
I am going to go with Conservatives on this one. I think their manifesto is 88 pages long, if I remember correctly.
Wah, wah. So that's none for the bonus rounds. Bonus rounds.
0.
However, because I'm sort of making this up on the spot, for this double bonus round, because you got 2 questions in a row right, so you know if you'd have got all 4 in a row, there'd have been 4 bonus rounds. UKIP have got the shortest manifesto. You now know, what did you say, Conservatives?
Yeah.
You now know that they don't have the longest manifesto, so if you can get all 4 of those manifestos in page length order, I'll give you a bonus point.
Okay, I see what you're doing here now.
Yeah, I'm wasting time. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this isn't 20 minutes anymore. This is 40.
I forgot to set the timer. My bad.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna go. Okay, right. So Tory's not the longest, but they got 88 pages. How many pages was UKIP again? 79.
UKIP are at the shortest with 76 pages.
76. Okay. Labour with the longest. Tories, Lib Dem, UKIP.
So you're going UKIP, Lib Dem, Tories, Labour. You're wrong. There's no bonus points at all.
Oh, what was it?
So UKIP are the shortest on 76. Then the Conservatives on 81. This is on the PDF normal print versions, I should say.
Okay.
Then third is Labour on 86. So sort of similar figures. Any guess on what Lib Dems might be? A little bit more than 86?
91.
154.
So
I mean,
when I said Lib Dems would have the shortest manifesto, I couldn't have been wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. In fact, UKIP's manifesto is almost half the length. Near as makes no difference. One page out of being half the length of the Lib Dems manifesto.
yeah. I mean, I haven't made it past page 11, so maybe, the Lib Dems manifesto is just loads of pictures and it's all spaced out, and UKIP's there in like size 10, Times New Roman font, but I just don't know.
I love the idea of the Lib Dem manifesto, because they know people won't read beyond sort of page 30. Of page 31 onwards, just being photos of Nick Clegg in different positions.
Sexual poses. There's one of them sleuthing around like Sherlock Holmes, like looking for savings.
There'll be a photo of him chairing a cabinet meeting with David Cameron not there and nobody else there either. Just him sat in the cabinet room just like this. So, anyone going to turn up?
Just a load of ministers doodling on the paperwork. I tell you what would have been a better game, actually. I didn't think about this until just now. It should have played what font is each manifesto in, because I think UKIP would definitely be Times New Roman. Lib Dem probably Comic Sans.
What do you mean? Sorry. Times New Roman. That infers the Italians had something to do with it. No. We're going to go with a normal British font. I don't know what a British font looks like, but it's not Times New Roman.
No. Do you reckon Monster Raving Loony Party would just be wingdings? So like you can't actually read it unless you translate it back on words.
I love that idea. I honestly love the idea of Monster Raving Loony Party doing the entire thing in wingdings. It's just, I think that's just a brilliant manifesto idea. So yeah, sod it. We'll put it out there. We'll only PDF it, so it can't be directly translated from Word. So all we've got is just people posting wingdings through people's doors. This is our manifesto. Read it.
That would be incredible. Anyway, we should talk a little bit about politics. Something I actually noticed in the world of actual politics this week, we'll limit it to 10 minutes from now, was, have you noticed the Lib Dems have been talking, they subtly changed tact? I think because the student thing still gets, basically every time a Lib Dem person starts talking, doesn't matter what they're talking about, like something completely innocuous, like, I think we should start a space program and go to Mars, and basically one of the journalists goes, oh yeah, but you said that about tuition fees, even if what they said is in no way related to that. They could probably say, we're gonna increase how much you have to pay on this, and someone will go, oh, but you said that about tuition fees, just as a blanket response. Like, just no sort of connection between the things. It just gets raised every time. They've started saying that they didn't break any front page commitments, which I think is quite sneaky, because the Lib Dems are obviously aware that they're probably going to be in a coalition, and a lot of people I think are probably praying that we have a Conservative Lib Dem or Labour Lib Dem coalition rather than a Labour SNP coalition. Obviously,
Yeah.
people voting for the SNP aren't thinking that at all, but that the Labour SNP argument seems to be getting a lot of coverage. Whether it has a lot of traction, I don't know, but it seems to get brought up a lot. But I think that's quite a good one from the Lib Dems, because basically by putting only like a very few but specific policies that you basically won't negotiate on, or will almost not negotiate on, maybe a few percentages here and there, like on the front page, you're kind of saying, this is what we want at the very least out of a coalition. Well, I think that is quite a sneaky plan. Like, basically, what the other party should do is just have nothing on the front page, just have it blank, just like a big picture of Dave's face, or Miliband, like, looking like trying to look important, and then they'll be like, oh, we didn't break any front page commitments either because we didn't have any. Like, genius.
I don't get the Lib Dem argument of this front page. I remember reading an article that you're talking about them saying they didn't break any front page promises with the tuition fees thing.
Well, if it was on page 2, they didn't. The fact that they talked about it.
I remember. I mean, you and I were both at the same university, where the
Not in
that
2010. I was at school still. I did vote though because I was in my final year. I was 18 in the last election, and I did vote. But
well when I oh god yeah you're right.
yeah, yeah,
You're that much
um,
younger than me. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
mate. I look wise because of how I talk.
Yeah, Fiddy and all that. Idiot.
I said that in the pub the other day. Someone's change was Tree Fiddy, and I said Tree Fiddy, and they just looked at me blankly, so I just gave them the change.
But no, the Norwich South MP, Simon Thomas. Simon Thomas? Yeah, I think it's Simon Thomas, or Simon something or other, was voted in on the strength of the student vote, because the students were very vocal in thinking, oh, you know what, if he's going to lower tuition fees, they're going to get rid of tuition fees, or at least keep tuition fees the same. That was the driving force behind a lot of people going out and not just voting Lib Dem, but voting full stop, was because of this tuition fee thing. And there's 17,000 students at UEA, of which I think it makes up something like a fifth of the electorate in the South Norwich area, which is a huge, huge, huge margin. And I think that's why I know that's why the Lib Dems got elected in what was previously a safe Labour seat, Charles Clarke's seat in Norwich South. So for them to come out and say, oh yeah, we didn't break any front page promises. Well, the fact is, they're there because of the student vote. They're in that position because of the student vote. They got elected because of the student vote, and the first thing they did in coming to power, within what's known as the 100 days, the first 100 days, within that, they allowed the Tories to raise tuition fees. Now, that has basically wiped out the possibility of any student ever voting Lib Dem again. And that's
I honestly think that is the Lib Dem thing is a big reason for the Green surge, because
yeah,
I think a lot of people that age are just going to vote because I mean that was a big issue back then, and what's happened to tuition fees is outrageously ridiculous. But you know that. The combination of both that and the protest vote thing, I think, is partially, and Nick Clegg did so well in the television debates, it's partially why they did so well. But now, if you're looking for a protest vote, it's UKIP or the Greens, which is basically like a right-wing, left-wing split. And this is one of the ironies I find about the upcoming election is the thing. You know the phrase "grand coalition." Basically, if you were to have a Labour Conservative majority, sort of governing together, we kind of think about it as being the most ridiculous concept in the world, except quite a few countries have that kind of thing. I believe Germany's had that on and off for about 20 years. And also, when you look at the parties, like, I appreciate in the 1970s and 80s that could have never happened, but now they're basically like, they're fairly centrist parties anyway. Labour aren't going to the election saying we're going to reverse austerity. They're saying we've had enough austerity. Let's leave it as it is. But the Tories, they're nasty. They're going to do even more austerity. Now, you know, I don't want to try and come down one side or the other. You do hear some horror stories resulting from the austerity cuts. But then, on the other side, you hear that, like, globally, with the sort of one of the best performing economies, and that's not what I want to talk about on this particular point. But you just think, well, there isn't a huge amount of difference between Labour and the Tories. They're both centrist parties. They're both pro-austerity. I think that's partially why UKIP and the Greens are doing better, because until the Greens came along, there wasn't a left-wing party. And although UKIP's obviously more focused on Europe, they are a more traditional right-wing party. Like, Greens and UKIP are the Conservatives and Labour of the 70s.
Yeah.
But now, I think that's part of it. But I think definitely the Greens will get huge support from sort of student-y votes. I mean, I see it on my newsfeed. There's quite a lot of pro-Green stuff in general. That's the Green Party, not Professor Green, although he does obviously make a great hit. And I follow him on Instagram. So I mean, maybe we'll try and get him on the show. But
if we could get anyone on the show on next week, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do. I mean, I know a couple of people who there's a couple of people who, when I said I want to kind of do this podcast with you, there's a couple of people who expressed interest. So, see if we can get them on, sort of for the election night round. But anyway, we've got 3 minutes left, and I do want to talk about some celebrity gossip this week because it's good celebrity gossip. Do you remember the old television show? That I forget exactly what it's called, but it was about Lizzie McGuire, and the titular character was Lizzie McGuire, played by Hilary Duff.
Hilary Duff, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I never watched it, but I do remember it.
I think it was on Channel 3 when I was in year 3 or 4. But like, because it was an American show, it must have been filmed a couple of years before that. Because like before Game of Thrones and the internet was big and piracy was everywhere, stuff used to come to this country like 2 or 3 years later than it was in the US.
Yeah.
I do remember that show. And anyway, Hilary Duff is now on Tinder.
What? I thought she was married with kids or something like that.
She has a child. I know this because I follow her on Instagram. But also...
Are you stalking her now?
No, not at all. I forget why I started following her. She did something of interest like a year or two ago, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting, and started following her. I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, because I did have a quick Wikipedia of this before, so I believe a number of years ago she got married to some guy who was an ice hockey player. I don't know if he was, I mean, probably Canadian, but could have been American, but worked in the NHL, and I think the child is from that gentleman, but I assume they're now broken up. And this is the thing, it's one of these stories, but I don't know if it's true or not, because, I mean, how hard would it be to knock up, like, some images of Hilary Duff's Tinder? Like,
yeah.
But the quote was that she said she's only ever dated celebrity people. Now, I don't know her dating history, but it seems plausible that if you're a child star, like, and even if you didn't like the show, if you're in that sort of Disney, like, television world from childhood age, you're going to know other childhood stars who are also going to become famous. So, and then if she married an NHL player, that's, you know, it's not as like you're Tom Brady or something, but
no,
you know, it's like being a normal Premiership footballer. There'll be lots of people who know who you are, and you'll probably get stopped. If you go out shopping, you'll probably get stopped at least once by a fan. So if she said she's only ever dated celebrities, so she wants to date a total normie or like a normal person. So I mean, I don't know if the term normie is a bit condescending, or it's kind of like a positive thing in sort of in a hip hop sense of people who are keeping it real. But I sort of don't care because I just want to match with her. The downside is LA is what, 12,000 miles away. So if I set my Tinder radius that wide, like the chance of me landing on her is basically like, I mean, how many people have Tinder? Like 100 million, something like that. It's 1 in 100 million.
But you don't have to. You don't have to set your radius that high.
Do you think I should get Tinder Plus?
Yeah, exactly. You get Tinder Plus and put your location as Los Angeles.
Do you reckon Hilary Duff has just gone halves with Tinder on Tinder Plus?
So everybody buys Tinder Plus and tries to go in Los Angeles to try and match with Hilary.
Maybe she just wants a new shed or a conservatory in the garden. She's like, oh, Tinder. How do you want to make some money? Because I don't know anyone who's got Tinder Plus. But equally now, I think a lot of people will have gone and bought it.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, but it's also quite weird because I remember a few years ago thinking that Hilary Duff out of
FHM number 8 at one point. That's a high ranking. FHM number 8 at one point.
Nice. But she, I mean, a few years ago, out of all those Disney people who did like Disney shows when they're growing up and became child stars and then went on to do acting, I mean, they all sort of went off the rails. Not
it's true.
Quite a lot. I mean, you look at Lindsay Lohan, who did Disney stuff, who went off the rails quite dramatically, and then you got who else? Miley Cyrus as well. Who went off the rails.
Don't say anything bad about Miley Cyrus. Saying things bad about Miley Cyrus was my idea to get publicity for the show. I thought if we just start trolling her from the official Poluhticks Twitter, we'll get all the like fans of her hate us, and so we'll get loads of we can get trolled on the internet, which has never happened before, and then but then it'll just be publicity because people will at least take the time to tweet us, and they might accidentally click on a link to the show if I put it in the Twitter bio. What I think we should do is like a more intellectual trolling, which isn't technically trolling, so that we can claim we're just victims in this. So if I tweet something like Miley Cyrus is not the most talented person of her generation, which I think is a fair statement when you compare her to, she's sort of in the same thing as like Adele, Sam Smith.
I mean, I'd probably put her more as sort of, I don't know, the cheeky girls. Or,
I don't know, she has had some hits. Also, Part in the USA is a cracking tune. You know, it's my favourite Jessie J song because she wrote it. But you know what I mean? You say something like that, which isn't actually trolling at all. It's just a statement. Like, I don't think she's the best artist of our time. You know, which we can then say, oh, but we still think she's really good when we get like caught out later on. But then even a statement like that will still get so much like aggressive backlash.
Yeah.
I think it's a genius plan.
But I think we should also be sort of tweeting people who are like, I think in the next week, for our election special, we should be tweeting people who are proper, full-on, like,
politicians,
conservative or will stab you. You know, those kind of people. Like the people who would follow Ted Cruz to the end of the earth. You know, those kind of people. But in British politics, and I don't think there's that many people who actually care so much about British politics. They follow people like the Republicans follow anyone, really. Anyone who's gun-toting a nutter.
I actually think that's why Farage said he was in favour of bringing back, like, making it easy to get a handgun, because basically UKIP is sort of the Republican Party of the UK, and there's a huge number of people who vote Republican because they're worried that the Democrat might took their guns. So I think what he's trying to do is like create a market for UKIP votes. Absolute genius.
That is really good. That is a genius move. That is a genius move. Although, to be honest with you, if I saw, honestly, I'd probably move out of the country if the gun laws changed in this country. I honestly would. Because there are so many nutters who shoot people in the US, and I don't want that to happen over here. I just probably guys, thanks, but I'm done. You know what? I love this country, but you know, if you guys want to start putting handguns in schools, that's probably where I start to draw the line. In fact, that's me. Line is drawn now. If you go over it, I'm leaving. That's it. I'm moving to France, Spain, Germany. I don't care. I'll quit my job and just move to another country.
Not if Farage is in power, you won't. You won't be moving to any of those countries. You'll be trapped.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, if we leave the EU, then I have to. Yeah, God.
Honestly, so what you like about UKIP? Farage is a genius. He's playing the long game here. He's building a base with not even sensible policies, just policies that will benefit him in the future. Like he must have like a cat that just sit there like building these master plans.
I think we need to get him on this program. If we can get Nigel Farage on this program, I think that would be hilarious.
He might be a bit busy next week, but
I don't know. I mean, all they do is stand around waiting for the results to come out. They don't really do much. They just do interviews. And that's kind of where we want to be, is make it as asking people for their interviews.
Yeah, it's true. But we'll just see what happens. We'll send out some tweets, see what we can get. I'm assuming nothing. But I mean,
have we got? I suppose this is the wrong question to ask while we're live on air. But have we got a Politics Twitter account?
Yeah, we do. Even I don't follow it on my own one.
I don't follow it either. That's not a great confession.
We'll need to tidy up the show. Next week we'll have title cards. Should we try and do some theme music? We'll just do some live beatboxing, whatever. Maybe we should just tweet Hilary Duff, see if she wants to come on and talk about UK politics, thus combining this entire episode.
Sounds good to me. Let's do that.
Anyway, yeah, this episode's been far too long already. We don't even have stuff that we say when we leave, do we? Like
no.
Next week, go and vote if you want to, or don't vote if you don't want to. But
I think even if you don't want to vote, because I mean, if you don't vote, you don't get an opinion.
Yeah, it's true. But then Russell Brand said the opposite of that, and he's got long hair, so that means nothing.
He's also an imbecile. I mean, I honestly have no time for people who think they've got political opinions when they don't vote. If you don't vote against the establishment, you have no reason to turn around and say it's wrong. If you don't vote against
What's your opinion of people who turn up with the intention of spoiling their ballot paper so that they technically did vote?
That's not.
See, I actually disagree with you there. I think that turning up to spoil your ballot paper is a statement, whereas not voting isn't a statement.
I see your point.
Because not voting at all could easily be laziness, and basically, when you have a system of power in place that relies on voting, you're refusing to vote. All that does is mean that an even smaller percentage of people get to decide what's going on. It's ridiculous. But turning up and intentionally spoiling your ballot paper, because there isn't a none of the above option in this country. I know there is in some countries. So spoiling a ballot paper is kind of the best way of saying, I'm prepared to say that I will not vote for any of you. Whereas not voting, you think you're doing that, but you're sort of not.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume there is no provision of what's happened if you had over 50% of people spoiling their ballot paper. Maybe just assume that someone's been replacing the biros with those wiggle pens from the 90s. But I still think it makes more of an impact, but intentionally going to spoil that. Anyway, we should be back next week for an on the night election special. What time I don't know. We'll sort it out afterwards. But
we'll tweet it.
Yeah, we'll do some tweets. And if you are listening to Hillary Duff, tweet us back. See you later. Bye for now.